Yo, welcome back to In the Booth, high above your favorite ballpark. It's Football Boys. And look, man, I tried to find fans of the game of baseball, but I couldn't find a fan today. I found myself a baseball aficionado live in the booth. It's Santos, my guy. How are you doing, man?
How you doing, brother? Thank you for having me, man. I'm a big fan. Love what you do.
I'm a fan of you, man. It takes a grind to make those short reels happen. Make sure you're timely. Make sure it's all in a row, bro. Like you're doing it right now.
It's fun. Like it's like what they say, right? Like when it's fun, it's not work. So it's like
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And so that's why I came across your content. Even though you're part of the Black Baseball Mixtape family, you're on the Discord, you hang out. But the first time I saw you about a year ago, I think, doing the reels is getting yourself, just being yourself that content creator thing. I know it's a grind, man, day in, day out. What motivates you to keep going at it? Because baseball's a long season, content's even a longer season. I mean, dang.
I think for me, it's one of those things that I live it, right? So I look at it like when you live it, when you breathe it, when it's a very much a part of your life, when it's ingrained in you, it's one of those things that yes, it is a grind. There's times where, and you know this, like you're grasping at straws. Like you're like you'll
Yeah,
have a slow day, right? Slow days, slow weeks. Off season was those can be, challenging, right?
yeah.
But it's just like the love that I have for the game is kind of I always try to find something different, and I think that's the key. Find something different, not just what's trending on the algorithm. The algorithm is cool, but at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy what you're doing and if you're not finding something that's refreshing to you,
Yeah.
it's not fulfilling.
So you're a Mets guy, right?
Yeah, big time,
What
big Mets fan.
what was what how'd you get into it? Was it a family thing? Was this a one day? It was a lightning strike? Like what made you decide to go with the orange and blue?
All right, so to with me, I grew up in Brooklyn, right? So
Okay.
I grew up in Brooklyn. Um, Going to Shea was closer. That
Yeah.
it was happenstance. We used to go to the Shea, the big blue stadium, and you remember, you probably remember at that time they used to have like those lights with the
Yeah. Yeah.
silhouettes, and that caught my eye as a kid, as an 8 year old, 7 8 year old, and I'm like, Dad, what's that? He's like, oh yeah, those are whatever silhouettes. That's part of the design, mind you. Right? We're talking maybe early '90s. Mets were terrible. Like 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 my dad's paying like I don't know whatever it was like $15 a ticket or whatever or $20 and we're sitting we moved down like an inning later we're already we could sit wherever we want because the Mets were horrible.
Yeah.
So that was all part of it, the experience. And so it was happenstance. My dad was more of a Yankee guy, so I
Oh
didn't
wow.
know when I first got into baseball. I didn't realize how good the Yankees were until '96 when they won. I didn't know about their history. And then once I started seeing the history, I was annoyed by the fans that kept winning, and
Right.
that drove me closer to the Mets. It had the opposite effect. It made me
Oh
want to rebel.
yeah, I got that part. You know what I'm saying? I think you're about the same age. Yeah, the Yankee fan base in the '90s got kind of entitled. But hold on. So your dad was a Yankees fan, but took you to Mets games? Was it because it was cheaper or he
It
wanted to
was
give you a
cheaper. It
child
was
abuse
cheaper.
or
It was more accessible.
okay,
I mean,
okay.
instead of driving over to the Bronx, like we literally would go from, we were in Bushwick or East New York, depending on what part of the family house we were at.
Okay.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, from in car, it's
Yeah.
like nothing. You get there, whatever, half an hour or whatever it was, or 35 minutes with no traffic. Like we're there. The Bronx, you have all those from now, obviously from Brooklyn. That's the key word, right? From
Right.
Brooklyn,
Right.
a little bit more. Not that it's not, you can't get there, but it was a little further out of the way. So it was just one,
Yeah.
and the tickets weren't as accessible. So that
Yeah.
was what it was.
My dad worked for Transit MTA for 34 years before he retired, and that was kind of the product of how the city was built, right? All the trail lines go through Manhattan. So if you were in Brooklyn to get to the Bronx was like an hour and 40 minutes
Right. It was
to
like
get to
people
the
don't
Yankee
get that.
Stadium.
They don't get that. Right.
Yeah,
That's why it was happens for me. It was happenstance. That's what it
yeah,
was.
yeah. And so for most people I talk who are lifelong fans, it seems to be about an ebb and flow, right? There were seasons that you were like lockstep with the team. There were seasons where you kind of fell back. Did you have a certain situation like that, or were you just all about the game, season in and season out?
So It would go in peaks, right? Because remember, we were looking at in the 90s, we were looking at some bad baseball. So it's
Hmm.
like I think at that time, like let's say from I want to go 90, 93, 4, 5. You, obviously, you had the strike, but we were looking at individual seasons. So I guess like one of my first guys who I was really into was Lance Johnson. That was like
Okay.
one of the first guys. It
Whoa.
was
Okay.
him. And I was like, what? I was like, this guy's good. Like 96 Lance Johnson. That was the first guy I gravitated to, Bernard Gilkey. These were
Yep.
guys who you paid attention to. I'm like looking at the standings. Oh, we stink. Our team is bad. Oh, but at least I got to see Gilkey. I got to
Yeah.
see Lance Johnson, and that's kind of like where then it went from there to like remember you had that build up to 99, right? So it went from
Hmm.
there to like okay, Ordonez, Alfonso, Piazza. That's how you and it had and the players started getting better, right? We started
Yeah.
getting better players as we went along. So it kind of developed that way.
Do you have a second team, and if not, do you believe in that, or
No, I don't
you
believe in that.
just you don't believe in that? It's not. It's, you
No,
can't.
no,
You can't do it.
no, no. That if you root for two teams, I don't care. Oh, New York,
Yeah.
nonsense, BS. That doesn't
Okay, that's
exist.
different. You can't have.
If
You can't be like
you
Rick
like,
Pitino.
oh, you mean like, do you mean AL and NL? That type of
I'm
dynamic?
just like if because my second favorite team is the White Sox, right? Because the leagues were split when I was a kid, so there was the NL side and the AL side. But I'm just asking in general. But you're like, oh hell no, it's your team, ride or die.
Okay, no, okay. Here's the thing. I was thinking of it more as far as like New York, right? The
Oh,
New York dynamic.
right,
Mets, Yankees, impossible,
right,
right?
agreed.
But you like the Mets and the White Sox. Those are very non-threatening.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
I don't know though, because what if they play in the World Series? I'm
Oh
assuming
no,
you're
no,
gonna
no,
say
no.
Mets because you
Yeah,
saw the White Sox win.
yeah.
Am I
Not
right?
even that. It's like for me, the leagues were split, so they almost never got any kind of cross interleague play at all. But they would the White Sox would come to New York and beat the Yankees all the time, which I thought was pretty cool. Like so,
Okay.
historically, it's been the Sox. I have an affinity for them. I'm a fan of the Mets only. You know.
Okay, so I no, I get what you're saying. See, I in that sense, the way you broke it down, not many people view it that way.
Okay.
I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I don't co-sign it, but I understand it. Right?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
get it though. Like you kind of chose the path where it's like two completely different organizations, different cities. I get that. So I'm not mad at it. I kind of would root for players. I don't have an affinity for another team. Um, it was kind of like one of those things where I would admire players, but
Yeah.
you know,
So okay, so bet. So you are one team only, which I respect, and you're living that life. And most people talk about the game in barbershops or at work or at church, I guess. What was a moment for you when you said, "Look, I got these opinions, I got these takes, I want to share it with others. I'm gonna go and have a podcast and have a brand and outlet."
I've always wanted to do it. I was afraid to do it though. I doubted myself. For one reason or the other, I would overthink forever. So I would say 5 years ago, it was in my head. Didn't do it. Put it off. Put it off. Put it off. Put it off. Till last year came, 2024. Actually, 2023, the idea came up. I said, okay, in 2024, I'm going to do this. This is around holiday season, 2023, right? End of year. Long story short, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it now, right? I'm like, I'm pushing 40 in a couple years. I'm like, F it. I'm scrolling social media. I'm like, this guy sucks. I could do better than that. No, I'm straight up. Like, let me tell you
That's
something.
like negative encouragement. I can do
Yeah,
better than
no, no.
this.
Yeah, because no, because for me, what motivates me is two things.
Okay.
Not to get off on a tangent. Two things motivate me. Number one, can I do it? What competition motivates me. I look at it like competition, and I don't mean like in the sense that I have to be better than you. No, I mean competition as in, okay, this person is very good. How can I do that but my own way? Or inspiration and competition, not competition in the sense of I'm going to squash you like Michael Jordan playing in the 90s. I don't mean it like that. So
Yeah.
for me, seeing that, right? That motivates me. And number two, the other part that really motivates me is what are we missing, right? What is it that in the landscape, why is this all the same, or what is this the same, that what can I do different? What is
Yeah.
missing? Identifying what's missing. And for me, it was covering Latino baseball and players and topics and discussions in English. That doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Go look for it. Now maybe it's somewhere in in the ethos, but it's not where it should be. And so I feel like that was a void, because as a Latino, I'm like, all right, we have our Spanish speaking universe, whole different world. We
Right.
have the English speaking that covers generally all topics, or American MLB, everything all together. That's all different. Why don't we merge it? Why can't we cover Latino baseball in English so that everyone can understand, and they say, hey, oh, I didn't know there was a Caribbean series that's been around for more than 60 years. I didn't know that Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic are like eternal rivals in baseball. I didn't know that Cuba has more Hall of Famers than Dominican Republic. You understand?
Yeah.
I didn't know that George Springer was Latino. Even why does he have the last name Springer? Stuff, random stuff that no one thought about, but they're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I appreciate that because that actually leads to my next question. See, on the Black Baseball mixtape, the original idea was that there wasn't enough media being covered about Black Americans in the game, and so
I
cheats
agree.
and
Still the
thank you,
case.
thank you so much. But I really want to ask you this because from the outside looking in, it felt like there was a plethora of Latin coverage, but you're saying there's gaps in that as well.
So yes. So here's the thing. Here's the biggest misconception when it comes to Latin coverage.
Okay.
Latin coverage is very biased. And I mean this respectfully, it's biased, it's narrative driven. Latin coverage in Spanish is, you got Dominicans waving, and I love everybody. I'll tell it like it is though. You got Dominicans waving Dominican flags. You got Puerto Ricans waving Puerto Rican flags. You got Venezuelans waving Cuban flags. You got Dominicans dissing Puerto Ricans. You got Puerto Ricans dissing Dominicans. You got Venezuelans dissing everybody. You got Cubans saying if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't exist. And the non-Spanish speaking Latin baseball world has no idea any of this happens, but I do.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, why can't we bring it more to the middle, where let's not drive the narrative, let's have the conversations, right? I've done a couple comparisons. Who was better, Juan Marichal or Pedro Martinez? I'm not telling you who I think is better unless you ask me, but I'm going to pose the question. Well, one gave you innings, one gave you strikeouts. One pitched in the uh, steroid era, one pitched in a pitcher's era. One has more wins, one has more strike. Like,
Yeah.
what you like? I leave that open for interpretation.
Sure.
But whereas in the Spanish speaking media, there's a lot of division, but the general masses don't see it because they're not following it. Unless you speak Spanish and understand Spanish, you're seeing that it's not driven by the, what do you call it? The black and white, not
Hmm.
black, instead of the gray areas, right? Or
Right.
it's not driven by black and white, by concrete, you know, opinions and stats, right?
Right.
So it's just one of those things. So that's all.
No, I appreciate that because you watch a baseball game on MLB.TV and they'll throw in like the baseball's Unoso Cosa campaign, but it seems very like universal, which could be cool. But then you're saying that there's some like parts of that mosaic there that gets overlooked, which is something I didn't even think about.
It's surface level.
Yeah.
And listen, there's, we need it. I'm not saying that it's otherwise, we I by all means we need it. But my thing is just kind of going a little deeper on it, in that it's nuanced, right? Um Puerto Ricans don't, just for an example, Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans don't, tacos are not native to us, right? We're
Right.
not all Mexican, is what I'm saying. So like,
Right.
for some, it's like, okay, well, Vinny Castilla is the same as Carlos Delgado is the same as Andres Galarraga. Like, no, we speak Spanish. We have our own food. We have our own flags. We have our own rivalries. We love to talk crap to each other, but it's love too at the same time. So it's not divisive in that sense. In sports, it is. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's the difference. So
I hear you. I mean, my family's from the West Indies, the British colonies, and it's
yes,
kind of a
yes.
similar
So you
thing. Like
know,
everything kind of gets roped into the Jamaican stuff, right? But there is different cultures and accents and things that appreciate the
football
game.
and cricket and
Yeah, exactly. My
track
dad
and
played
field.
cricket. Yeah. My dad was a cricket guy, and when he got to this country in the '70s, he just put on both teams and was like, "I'm going to learn American baseball and American cricket." I mean, and that was it. And so
Wow.
it was his experiment. He was both. He was actually a fan of New York baseball. He was one of those guys you hated. He was a fan of New York baseball until the day Clemens threw the bat at Piazza, and he was done. I
Yes, it
chose the
was.
Mets before him. I mean, I was a Bernard Gilkey guy, Butch Husky guy. Benny Agbayani was my dude
Oh
because
yeah.
I was a fat kid like him. But my dad was all about baseball until that bat got thrown. He was like, "Forget it, Yankees are dirty." It was a wrap. Uh, but talk about the culture, though. So the Mets have gone through some stuff, and with Steve Cohen and company, we're seeing the culture change. There's been talk about a pan-Latin Mets movement. Think about Venezuelans and Cubans and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans on the side. What is your thought about that being really endemic to the Mets culture moving forward in 2025?
I think it's important. Obviously, it's a reality, right? When you look across the landscape in baseball, MLB has invested a lot in Latin America, in particular Venezuela and Dominican Republic. And so I think it's important to have that. I appreciate it. Obviously, Alex Cohen as well is of Puerto Rican descent, so that helps to bridge a lot of the gap as well. So I like to see it. I think it bodes well for the future, and it shows a lot of awareness, which I do appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, when you go to a game, what do you sit? What do you usually eat? What do you usually drink? Like, how do you experience a game these days?
So I don't mind sitting at like it's funny. So I don't sit down. Usually get field level. So I'm usually either first base or left or third base side. The lines I'm weird like that. I like sitting by the lines, but not like too far off the line. And so those are like the not the cheap seats. They're good seats, but they're not gonna break my wallet seats. They're decent enough seats where I can see the game, and I don't stay still. I get up and I watch the game. I stand, I literally get up and walk around the stadium and watch the game like that. It's weird. I'm weird like that. I can't
You
stay
got
still.
so you
So
buy
as far
does
as
you
huh,
buy a ticket and don't sit down? Like,
I sit down in stretches. Like I'll sit for a
okay,
couple innings, and I'll get up, and then I'll watch standing up. You know, I'm weird like that. I'm weird like that. I don't stay still.
yeah.
I As far as food, I can't take too. I used to like going to Shake Shack once in a while, but those lines used to be crazy. I think it's gotten a lot better now, but I don't know. Like I'm more of a burger guy. Burger, something simple. Something I'm not gonna get all dirty and messy with. Something.
Oh,
So
that's huge. That's critical. Yeah, with those ice cream helmets always end up in my lap. But
man,
no,
I love them, but they're dirty, man. They get dirty
yo,
and messy.
I'm with you. No, I'm the same way. I know I teased you a bit. When I go to another town I'm not familiar with, I usually get the cheapest seats, either standing room only or top deck. And I do walk around too. I want to see how different sections interact. I want to see different side angles. I want to see different lines. I am kind of in the same kind of mode. So if you're weird, then I'm weird too. You know what I'm saying?
No, no, it's yeah. Some people they think that's weird that I don't sit, but I sit in little in small stretches because I'm like that. I like to enjoy the. If you think about this like logically, right, and it'll make sense. You're sitting down, right? Let's say you have nobody next to you, or you may be there with a friend, and you're just trying to watch the game. You're sitting down watching the game. You're in your own To me, I look at like you're in your own bubble if you think about it, right? The place is
Yeah.
rocking. If you Unless you're in a section where the place is rocking and you can get the atmosphere. I like to take in the atmosphere. You can take in the atmosphere when you're more in a section where you're standing and you're around a bunch of people, if it makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. And if you get used to one park, that definitely works more true once you go travel and see, oh, this section's where it gets hot in Philly. This section is what people do in Detroit or what have you. So
Right,
I'm with you
right.
100%. So talk to me about the Baseball Aficionado streetwear brand, man. Like, what was the idea behind that? The website looks slick right now.
Thank you. I
Items are already
appreciate
on
that.
sale. What's going on?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So, I've always been a fashion guy. A couple years ago, I had a streetwear brand that was just that was inspired by. It was basically Latino streetwear with a New York kind of like inspiration. I had that for a couple years. It was called Santos Threads, and then I decided to stop because I wasn't inspired anymore. I didn't feel inspired, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. Whereas what I do now is more like it's more merch. It's more of a merch thing as opposed to um kind of like me trying to become Ralph Lauren or something like that. It's nothing like that. So for me, I felt like it would go hand in hand, and for me, the content is first and foremost for me. For I always say that I believe that if you build it, they'll come, right? So to me, the streetwear and the content go hand in hand. So it's one of those things that I'm not telling people to buy my stuff all over the place and announcing it everywhere. That's intentional. I'm not doing that. So if you look on my stuff, it's all about my content. But if you dig deeper, you see occasionally I'll post, hey, there's a sale. I have this, I have that. Check out the merch because I don't want it in your face. I want you to. It's one of those things that if you'll see it. So
What inspires you this time around to keep motivated to make pieces? Or are you trying to go until it dries up again, or what's the strategy there?
Um, I think baseball needs more drip, man. Like let's be
Fair,
honest, everything is
fair.
all about the hoopers still to this day. Like it's all about the hoopers, and I won't let that be the narrative because baseball players got a lot of swag, they got a lot of drip too, like baseball players, especially nowadays. And so I think that's important when especially with the initiatives in trying to maintain the interest of the youth and future generations of ball players and aficionados too, right? And fans alike. So I think you need the youth. If you don't have that that swag, that drip as they call it, that style, you can't speak their language. They're not. You're gonna lose them. Baseball is just gonna keep getting older. So I think that's all part and parcel.
No, I'm with you 100%. You got to go with the times. But that actually leads me to the question I ask everyone on the show. Is baseball cool? Why or why not? And if it's not cool, what can we do to get to be cool again?
It depends on who you ask. I
I'm
think there
asking
was a
you.
time. Right,
I'm
right, right, right,
asking
right,
you.
right. Well, baseball to me is always going to be cool,
All right.
but I think there we're reaching a point where there is a little bit of a age gap as far as whether baseball is cool or not. I remember me growing up in the 90s, we played ball outside. I look outside, you look around the streets of New York, or if you go, drive around and look at New York, like you don't see kids playing outside. Like I feel like baseball has increasingly become suburban. And I think for the suburban kids, it's cool. For a lot of Latin kids who grow up in Latin America, it's cool. Um, for certain African American kids, it's still cool too. But again, and this is where you guys come in, um, maintaining that interest and representation and speaking the language of the youth so that the African American kids also can gravitate towards it. Not just the suburban African American kids, the African American kids in the inner city as well. So it's become very suburban, I think. So I know it was a long-winded answer, but it's kind of like for me, I had no other way to explain it. To me, I
No,
feel like
I hear you. So there's like still a path to be cool. It's just they got to work on some things, basically.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And and you know what too? And this applies in every country, in every neighborhood. The inner city is where the soul is. That's
Mhm.
where the souls are. The soul meaning that's where the flavor is. That's where the heart is. That's where the cool comes from. From from Brazil to New York to Lagos. to Kingston, you go to the inner city, you go to the neighborhoods, what we call in Spanish, the barrios. You go to the barrios, that's where you're gonna see that's where the flavor is, that's where the soul is, that's where the heart is.
Yeah.
So those areas always need to be in love with the game in order for it to continue to prosper.
Man, Santos dropping the science right now. But before we wind this down, man, I got to ask you, like I asked a lot of Mets fans, I mean, post Soto, is he a guy on the team? Is he your favorite player? Are you excited about him? Or is this kind of a dude who's set to do a role for the team and you have someone else being your guy right now?
Lindor is my guy. And
Okay, Captain.
okay, and now I'm gonna caveat this. This is the caveat. We need Lindor to. We need Lindor. We need Soto's got to be the man for the most part as far as hitting. Offensively, we need him to get to where he needs to be, and I think he will. A little bit of a slow start. I'm not worried about it. However, let's not forget who the captain is. Okay, Francisco Lindor. Listen, Francisco Lindor is the guy who they're all gonna go ask questions to after the game.
True.
They're gonna ask Juan Soto questions. But Lindor is captain. Okay, now is he better than Soto? Not offensively, but he does more. Let's not lose sight of that. Now, Lindor is my guy. I've been in his corner the whole time. That's my
Mm-hmm.
guy. And I think that ultimately for the Mets to have success, they need more guys than not clicking, right? They need more of their guys to be clicking. That's it. I don't need 40 home runs from Soto. Give me 30, you know, and that's fine.
It's funny because we argue about this on the Black Baseball Mixtape podcast on Monday because Chiefs is still saying that it's Soto's team, and I'm like, no, Lindor is the captain. Just haven't given him the C yet. He is the heart and soul of the squad, man.
Cheats. Well, here's the thing with Cheats, and shout out to Cheats, by the way.
Hey, what's up?
I got mad love for Cheats. He always shows me so much respect and love, and I really appreciate it. So, and I love what he does. Cheats likes the power hitter. That's what
True.
it is. You like what you like. I don't. There's no wrong answer. I like the all around players. That's my. So like if I see like I'm not a Soto guy. I didn't want him. I'm in the minority. I didn't want the Mets to sign him. I
Same
thought
here.
that contract was going to blow up in their face, and I think
I
it
thought
might.
so too.
But in the meantime, let's win a World Series. We'll deal
Before
with
it blows
later
up,
later.
y'all.
No,
Before it
well,
blows
don't let
up.
it blow up yet.
Yeah.
Let it blow up later.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm 100%. I feel the same
I want to
way. I
win
felt like
first. A guy
I
like that who doesn't run well, doesn't field well, has an elite eye, great hand-eye coordination, tremendous hitter. I'm not taking that away. The best patience at the plate. But his other skills will only erode from now till then. I mean, and so let's win in the first 5 years and then we worry about later.
man, that I'm with you 100%. I didn't like the shuffle. I didn't think twerking belonged in baseball, but he's on the squad. He's on the squad. Yo, how many games are you going to this season before we wrap this up? I'm just kind of curious. 5, 10, 15, 20? How many games you go to here?
um, I might do five, because I,
Okay.
I actually have. So I'm trying to get my credential to go to the press credential, so that
Yeah,
will make it the total even higher. So we'll see. I was
absolutely.
supposed to be there opening day, it didn't happen, but we'll see. So
Yeah, same here. When Steve Cohen was like attendance was so bad, I was like, yo, I'm gonna fly in just to go and be like, see, Steve, I showed up.
right, I did my part, Steve.
Yo,
Okay,
for real.
Stevie,
Give me a ring.
give me a ring. I'm good, man. But
Man, listen, this has been a dope conversation. If someone's listening right now and they want to connect with you, see more of your content, see the fashion line, how to go about doing that, my brother?
yeah, definitely. You could check me out on IG, the Baseball Aficionado. You can also go to TikTok. I post on TikTok a lot. It's not my favorite platform, but you have to do it. BB Aficionado. And I'm on YouTube as well. Got the YouTube stuff and website bbAficionado.com.
Man could not be stopped. 2025, the year of Santos, baby. I'm all about that.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hold on. Wait. Don't